بالإيمان أن السلام حياة قد جاء في القرآن أن السلام.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, and welcome to iTREND on ITV. I'm your host, Zaheerah Bham Ismail. Very often there are many things that almost stay with us longer than memories because it affects not just our hearts but our souls as well. One of the places that I recently traveled to, Jerusalem, was something that stayed with me and really affected me, more so when you actually see it. Very often many of us read about it, we hear about it, we see small things that are happening in our country to raise awareness for it. But when you're standing on the soil, you actually understand the true implications of what it means to live as a Palestinian in Jerusalem, to be in that premises, to be in those surroundings, to own land, but to know that you will never be the true owner of it. This is something that when you meet the people there, stays with you forever. I'm so honored and so thrilled to have in our studio with us today somebody who changes the narrative the way we know it, somebody who changes the face of the game as we know it. Chaim Schwartenberg, hello and welcome to the studio.
Hello.
Chaim, you are an Israeli pro-Palestinian photographer and activist. I have to say it like that because you are Israeli by citizenship, but you're also very pro-activism against what we are seeing. I want to talk a little bit about who you are first, and then we'll talk a little bit about the work that you're doing. Because as South Africans, the Palestinian story is something that is very close to all our hearts. It's something that we feel very strongly about, and not only just in that place, in all places where we see oppression. So you sitting here changes the narrative for so many people who see all Israelis as being pro-Jewish and anti-Palestinian. And actually, I rephrase that. I must apologize. Not pro-Jewish, pro-Zionist. And I think there's a big difference between the two. And we must say that at the outset as well, because there are many Jewish people who are very conscious of of the same problems in the same way that we are. So I do apologize for that. I've got to rectify that immediately. But you're an Israeli citizen. Tell us a little bit about who you are and your background.
I'm Israeli citizen. To tell you the truth, I served the army. I didn't have the knowledge that I have today. In 2010, I started asking question, what's happening around me? Because we don't know what's happening in the West Bank, usually. The media in Israel, it's propaganda. Usually they copy-paste the spokesperson of the army to whatever he says, like it's true. So in 2010, I went to a tour, Breaking the Silence tour. Actually, I didn't listen to the tour guide. I only saw to Hebron. I only saw what's happening there, and actually you see the apartheid there. You see the separation, how they took out the Palestinian from the area next to the tomb. There is a road, a main road there, that it separates a small road for Palestinians that they're supposed to walk there. And the big road, it's for Israeli and tourists, of course, with vehicle that they can pass there. And then I understood that what I knew, or what I hear about what's happening there, it's not true, or not quite true. And I start to ask myself questions and go visit many places around the West Bank and notice that actually the Israeli government lied to us. Since then, since 2011, the first time that I go to Nabi Saleh actually was 2011. And since then, I go every week until they stopped the demonstration a year ago. I went every week to those demonstrations and document what actually the Israeli army is doing there. Since 2011 until 2014, I wanted to speak to the Israeli people, to the Zionists, to try to bring them to see what I saw, to understand what we are doing there. And many of them that came was change mind, had the change mind, because I also today can say why is the reason of it, because usually you know that the soldiers are supposed to protect you, they are actually the one that shoot at you. And the people that you are scared of, the Palestinians, like
Yes.
they give you they open their houses, and this is the most safe place that you have there. So all the perspective they have change, and then came what's happened in Gaza. And I read what they wrote on Facebook, and since then I decide I don't speak to the Zionists, because why am I wasting my time there?
I have to ask you, you mentioned 2010 being this awakening for you, following the tour that you were on, breaking the silence. I do follow them on Facebook as well, and I've read many of the stories. And it's heartbreaking when you read it, how real it is. Do you think other Israelis may not be aware because they're being fed a certain amount of information, like you said, just copy and paste what they need to hear? And what do you think it takes to almost make people aware and awake to what's happening? Not just other Israelis, but people around the world. Even people here that are saying to us, it's not like that. It's perfectly fine when you go there. What do you think it takes? Do you think journalism is the way? Do you think it's pictures? What do you think will open up people's minds? Or do you think when they're ready, they'll see it?
This is the $1 million
question.
Yeah. Since 2014, I stopped talking to the Israeli people, and I started to talk outside. I opened a blog with my picture there that it's all in English. Before that, I wrote in Hebrew. Actually, this is not me writing. I asked a friend of mine. And I try to speak to the international community, to people around the world, to show them by picture what's happening in the West Bank, in Nabi Salah specific.
You're a renowned photographer whose pictures are telling many, many stories and are breaking that silence, and has become a voice for so many Palestinians, for so many people who aren't able to speak for themselves. Have you understood how big your role has become?
No.
May it always grow. May you always be a voice for the people that are oppressed as well. When you speak about being an Israeli citizen, you live in Jaffa. We were speaking about that off air, which is very close to Tel Aviv, almost part of Tel Aviv. When I was in Tel Aviv, I struggled to tell the difference between who was Palestinian, who was Israeli, let alone religions. I couldn't tell the difference. I was struggling with figuring out who was who, but the people who were with me found it easy. How do you find being in Israel, knowing that your family may be aware of your mindset, your friends may be aware that you have a different mindset? How has the responses been from people around you?
So with my family, it's always, we have argue or about those issues, or my father doesn't understand why I'm wasting my time and money to go to the West Bank or to other struggles. I take a part of other struggles behind the Palestinian issue. So he doesn't understand why I spend my time there and money for it. Of course, he argue about the place that the Israel, the Zionist perspective, you know, he have. But we love each other, you know. And family you don't choose. So,
Absolutely.
most of my friends, they are have the same opinion that I have. We are not a lot with the same opinion, but there is an activist in Israel that
that feel strongly about it.
Yeah.
And I think that's important for us to know as well, because very often the way the media portrays all Muslims or all Palestinians, we may also be grouping all Israelis, thinking everyone is the same. And I think that's a very important concept for us to understand, that Israelis and Judaism is something separate from Zionism. And Zionism is a political ideology, and that's what we're discussing. That's the one that feeds the oppression. And that's the one that Chaim and his friends are standing up against and becoming a voice against. We have to go for a quick ad break. When we come back, we continue talking about the photographic journey. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, and welcome back after that ad break. We are speaking to quite a dynamic and inspiring guest today called Chaim Schwartenberg. Please do follow his blog, follow his Instagram and social media pages. He's truly becoming a voice for many of the Palestinian people, a voice for many people who are silent. And I've introduced him at the beginning of the show as an Israeli pro-Palestinian activist. Chaim, we were talking about living in Israel, living amongst family members and friends, not always who may see the journey that you are taking. I have to ask you, I know our time is always short on the show. Tell me a little bit about the journey with your photos. You were very involved in the Ahad Tamimi campaign. You were very involved in many others, also with African refugees being thrown out of Israel. And those are pictures that people don't get to see and don't get to, the stories that people don't get to hear about.
They don't get to see. I don't know. We try to about the refugee. So we are a group of photographers. It's not only me. And yeah, there is situation now in Israel that the Israeli government want to
demolish
them to third country.
Oh, to send them back to their third countries.
Yeah,
okay.
To send them back to third country, because to the home country they cannot send them. Until now, there is almost around 20,000 people that already left Israel. Israel says like they agree to leave, they signed that they agree to leave, but there was a lot of pressure to them to leave. Nobody knows, of most of them, nobody knows where they are and what's happened with them. So this project that we made is to show them. Actually, it's a document. It's two kind of project. One is documentary of the documents that they have here in Israel, not here, but in Israel, and the other thing is to show on the walls to the Israeli people who you want to throw, that they have faces.
You're making them real for them. You're putting real faces to these refugees.
Exactly, and we put it on the streets. It's a street...
like a street exhibition.
It's street exhibition, yeah. And actually it was interesting because you see the reaction of the people on the streets, because the spray go home and then others come and put a hard on top of the head, and there is dialogue on the streets with those photos or with this situation.
And like you're saying, the way your heart changed in 2010, this may possibly change somebody's heart when they see these pictures up on the street, and they may feel for that one person's picture that they're seeing, because it's no longer a refugee. There's a name and there's a face that they can put to it and identify it as a person.
So let me say it like this. Since 2014 till now, till this project 2 months ago that we start, I didn't spoke to the Israeli society. I give you up with them.
Yes.
And because it's an internal issue, I start talk to them again on the walls. And actually, it's surprising how the Israeli accept this struggle. On Saturday, there was 25,000 people go to demonstrate for the refugees. It's something that I cannot say about Palestinians. Israeli people don't want to speak about Palestinians.
But why do you think there's a difference that 25,000 people will stand up and speak for refugees, but you won't have the same people speaking for people who are part of the land, who are Palestinians?
It's not true. They will speak about Palestinian, but from the Israeli narrative, or from the
Israeli
Zionist,
narrative.
yeah, from the power that they have, from
Yes.
the privilege that they have, that they don't want to give up on them. Yeah.
It's always coming from a position of power, because the narrative they have is completely different, and whereas the refugees is something completely new, so the narrative is still fresh.
Yeah.
Where do you see yourself going with your photography? Because you're documenting things that many of us have difficulty even looking at. When we're seeing children being oppressed, when we see children being imprisoned, you documenting this, and you standing right there on the sidelines because you know them. How has that been for you, firstly? And then we'll talk about where you're going with it.
To see those children getting to prison. Look, I'm going about Ared, and not only Ared. I'm usually, when children of people from the village getting arrested, I'm going to the military court. Actually, I don't know if people know, but there is two different kind of law in Israel. One for Palestinian, the other for Israeli.
Okay, I didn't know that.
So for Palestinian, it's a military court. For Israeli, is like here a state court. I give you an example. If I go to I'm not protesting, I'm taking photos, but if I was an activist that came to demonstrate in Abi Salah, and next to me there is a Palestinian guy that came to protest, and we both be arrested, I probably will release the next couple of hours. And he will stay until he go to the judge 96 hours after. So there is two separate, more than that. I slapped a soldier and got by building, how you say, the deal that she...
Yes.
They did a deal with or no deal, except
that you've made a mistake, you sign it off.
Yeah, she got now 8 months.
8 months.
There is an Israeli activist that last week on the court slapped to the
prosecutor, yes.
Yeah, and released the day after. Actually, the police didn't want it to be released, so they appeal, and she actually released day after that. But she is free now, and she's still in the prison. So there is apartheid, there is separation, there is two different
There's two different laws. Completely.
Yeah.
So as you're saying, there's a military law for Palestinians, and then there's state law for Israelis.
Exactly.
And completely different rules, even though it may be exactly the same crime.
Yeah. In the same place.
In the same place as well.
Yeah.
When I hear that, and I hear about how children have to grow up seeing that, where you just mentioned Ahad Tamimi got 8 months, and somebody else got released within 24 hours for doing the exact same thing. It's baffling, because you think that you live in the same country and different laws apply, and people still think that it's not apartheid, even though there's two different laws completely for them. It's shocking. What do you want to see yourself doing? Where do you want to see yourself going? I mean, from 2010 to now, you've already achieved so much, and you've already been the voice for so many people, and we've seen pictures being brought to life of stories that we wouldn't have heard of. Where do you see your journey from here onwards?
I really don't know. I'm following the oppression, you know, here, always with the oppressed. So I'm following struggles that they have. When I see suffering or and I have time to deal with it, I'm doing that.
May you always be standing with those that are oppressed. I think it's such a wonderful way to live and a wonderful way to be in touch with your own humanity so that you're able to see other people's humanity in it as well. We wish you the best of luck on your journey. We will be looking through all your pictures as well, and we will be following it as you become the voice for so many. So thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
Very seldom we hear stories and voices that change the narrative from what we know. We hear and see many people of Palestinian descent talking about it. We see people in South Africa from various backgrounds speaking about it, but very little have we heard from Israeli citizens who are speaking out about the oppression. Chaim becomes one of those very strong voices for many of us who actually acknowledges and realizes the reality of the oppression that's being faced, the unfairness in the legal system and the unjustness of what Palestinians have to live with on a daily basis. Just so that we all summarize it, Palestinians are not just Muslims. It's anybody that is not of Jewish descent. Israelis, Jewish people are not all pro-Zionists, very much like Chaim and his friends who are also standing up and speaking out against it. Zionism is something completely separate. Stay tuned. When we come back, we continue the conversation. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, and welcome back to iTREND on ITV. I'm your host, Zaheerah Bham Ismail. Continuing from that conversation, we're now chatting to Mashia Munchu, the national convener for Israeli Apartheid Week and a volunteer at BDS. Assalamu alaikum and welcome.
Thank you, and
I'm so glad to have you here. I know you have had an exceptionally busy month, actually a busy few months trying to put everything through together. But before we get into what you actually did, tell me a little bit about who you are and how you actually fit into this.
Okay, well, like you just introduced me, I'm Mashia Munchu, and thanks for having me on the show.
Oh, it's a pleasure.
I'm from, they call it a small town, Northern Cape, in Northern Cape, Kimberley. I'm from Kimberley. I started off as coordinating Israeli Apartheid Week events, in 2015, 2016. And eventually, through the hard work that we've done, I then became coordinator, national convener actually of Israeli Apartheid Week. The reason why I took part, because the Palestinian and Israeli issue, we call it issue, or you call it conflict, or whatever we want to call it, but the issue is that it was sold in the media as a religious issue. Muslims and Jews have been fighting before ages of the Bible, of which it's not true. It's a human rights issue, and I think we owe it to ourselves, and it's our responsibility also as South Africans, as being beneficiaries of international solidarity, that we also lend a hand, because there are those that lended us a hand, and specifically Palestinians lended us a hand when we were in need of that. So if I'm going to be sitting there and complaining, why not then do something about it? So I then took on the campaigns and told myself, mine is to raise awareness and conscientize at all material times.
Fantastic. Mashia, I must ask you though, coming from Kimberley, how do you even become aware of the Israeli-Palestinian struggle? There are people that are at universities here that say, oh, we don't even know about it. You came from Kimberley, and yet you became so aware of it. What was the turning point, or when did you become more aware of the issue?
Kimberley is a very small community, right? And there's one, I used to call him Mulana Rashad. He was head of Gift of the Givers. I personally myself, I like community work and I enjoy doing community work, just community development is my passion. So we'd work on some of the programs with Mulana Rashad. And then one day he spoke of this Palestine and you must be part of this. And I actually did not take note when he said it the first time. So what I then did, I read on it. And I saw it as a cause that I can identify it with. Like I said, emanating from our history, that these people assisted us. Palestinians assisted us, although they themselves were oppressed. But they assisted us. So it's only fair that we also assist them. And Mulana, may soul rest in peace, he passed on last year. So it's, he was such a compassionate man, and he taught me so a lot just about humanity. And I think I owe on to him, just to continue the legacy, because if we don't then take the baton from those that came before us, then we're going to be a lost society.
You are a young woman with wealth of wisdom, alhamdulillah. When you mention about the fact, I think one thing that you've mentioned, which I said earlier in my segment as well, but it's so pertinent, is that it's not a religious issue.
Yes.
It's a human rights issue.
Yes.
And many of us fail to see that. So many people are scared to say something because they think it becomes religious and people are going to attack them for attacking religion. And it has nothing to do with that. It has all to do with human rights.
It's got nothing to do with religion, first and foremostly. And secondly, it's got also nothing to do with politics. But the issue at hand here, it's human rights that are being abused and that are being violated. And as a human being myself, it can't sit well with me when I see someone else's rights someone being oppressed, And hence I became part and puzzle of this campaign to educate, Yes, Israel is selling the narrative that so people must not get involved, because we all know that in our communities where we come from, religious is such a contentious issue, such a sensitive issue, that we don't speak about it that much. Hence, we're saying, but it's a human rights issue. Now, for this specifically, when you look at the Israeli Apartheid Week campaign, the theme was Afro-Palestine solidarity. Reason for that being that Israel issued out an ultimatum in December, and it's not been talked about in the media because we don't even own our media. So the media reports for the interest of those that it's beneficial to. So people, when you say to people, but for instance, at a Human Rights Festival,
yes,
we were at over the week, I did a lot of talks to school kids, high school kids, and just so some society at large. People were passing the table and wanting to know, but what is it that we do? I told them, but guys, there is apartheid that's taking place in Israel. No. What are you talking about, apartheid? Just to start off there, people don't know. So Israel issued out a ban on December that they don't want to see any black specifically, refugee and asylum seeker by the 1st of April. Today we are like what, on the 26th, 27th of April? So it's like 4 days left. So what Israel is, yeah. So what Israel has been doing since December is been offering refugees and asylum seekers, it's been giving them a one-way ticket to anywhere in the world, and then $3,500 worth of pocket money, just so that they must start off anywhere in the world, but just leave Israel. If that day comes and you are still in Israel, you're going to be detained for an indefinite period. This is wrong. This is discriminatory. This is just Israel showing its white supremacy, tendencies. And no one is saying anything about it. It's kept quiet. So we've been trying to raise that awareness and trying to speak on that issue so that people must, there's another narrative. Don't just believe everything that you read. Do your own research and so forth. And I would like to say, especially school kids were very receptive to the information,
That's fantastic, and I think it's giving them other options compared to what they've normally been given and told this is it. Our previous guests also spoke about the African refugees and said that they've been putting up pictures of refugees on streets and on walls, and so people can actually associate the faces with human beings. And the government's also telling them, no, the people chose to leave willingly, which they know is not true also. But like you rightly said, many of us are not even aware of it. I find that in South Africa, we almost, and it's a terrible way of saying it, but we wait for these events that happen, we make it fashionable to be looking after those charities, and then a few months later we forget about it. But people that are involved in Israeli Apartheid Week, people that are involved in BDS, are doing this every single day for the whole year. It's not just once off, let's do something and then it carries on. Your work continues.
You know, it's true. I work with a comrade, but a comrade I volunteer with to the campaign. He said, you know what, I'm going to make an example of what he used. I said, you know, he likes to wear a ANC t-shirt or a beanie, ANC beanie. He said, you know what, I want everyone to know that even when it was not fashionable to wear this ANC beanie, I wear it. I worn it and throughout. So now that people are starting to wear ANC t-shirts again, it must not become like, you know, it's only now becoming. I did it even when it was not fashionable. So what I'm trying to do here is that I'm trying to say to people that don't just do it because it's fashionable.
Yes.
Do it because of you really want to help and you really want to make a difference. Because some of us, we do it just because of it's fashionable. Yes, the campaign was from 12 until 18th of March. That was the Israeli Apartheid Week campaign. And that campaign, like you were saying, we're seeking to raise awareness of issues that are taking place. But also, because a lot of questions that come, but how, why should I be bothered about what happened? But think back, because I like to say to people that it's always important that to interrelate issues, you know, try to bring issues home. Why was it important for those that, for that person who was living in Sweden or in India to boycott apartheid South Africa? Because it couldn't be bothered about what happened in different parts of the world because it did not affect them. But what doesn't affect you directly, indirectly, it affects you because of you are a human being. So hence we're raising human rights issues here that other human beings' rights have been violated. You know, they've been oppressed and we're not saying anything. So hence I'm saying that we must always try to bring issues home so that we must try and find our relevance in the issue. Why is it relevant for me to be part of that particular issue?
I think you've hit the nail on the head in that last statement as well. Very often we're told, why should we worry about it? Let's worry about fixing us here at home. We have to fix here at home as well. But as Mashiach said, we have a right as human beings to stand up for oppression no matter where we see it in the world. Because years before, somebody stood up for us here so that we can live the life we're living. And if we don't stand up for these moments of oppression, these episodes that we're seeing of oppression, then in that, slowly, we start losing our own humanity. Stay tuned. When we come back after the ad break, we continue our conversation. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, and welcome back to the last segment of the show. I'm your host, Zaheerah Bham Ismail, and we're continuing our conversation with Mashiach Munchu. Mashiach, you are the national convener of Israeli Apartheid Week, a volunteer at BDS, and we spoke a little bit about finding the humanity within each of us, and it's something that resonates very strongly with me. Very often people say, what difference can we make? And I keep saying, never ever forget that every small bit has a ripple effect, and every small thing, whether it's a decision made, a word made, support being given, everything makes a difference. And I've got to say, when I was in Jerusalem, I asked some of the Palestinians that were there, does BDS even make a difference? Does it even impact on you? Does it make a difference that we in South Africa have stood up or said something, or there's a group of people who care enough about this? And their answer was, yes, it does. Everything does, because it becomes voices out of their own community that the international community becomes forced to listen to. And I think hats off to you and your team for being able to achieve that and to do that and to stand up for the rights of other people.
Yes. BDS itself, you know, in 2005, the Palestinians made a call to the international community to support a non-violent boycott, divestment and sanctions against the Israeli regime. And for the past 14 years, BDS has been in South Africa. It has actually done that. The reason why they took out that call, because they were inspired by the anti-apartheid movement in South Africa. When comrades in South Africa went abroad and asked the international community to stand and boycott apartheid South Africa because of its apartheid policies, of its human rights violations, and so forth and so forth. And the international community listened. So in Palestine, the community in Palestine also, inspired by that, what we did in South Africa, they said, you know what, we also want to take out that call to the international community that, you know what, if you guys can assist us, you know, in boycotting any product that's come from Israel, in disinvesting in Israel, companies disinvesting in Israel, and having sanctions against the sports team and so forth. And so it will assist us so that Israel must be forced to come in and negotiate with the Palestinians so that, you know, they must be liberated. So it's a good cause. It's a good cause. It's not an easy cause. Of course, it's not an easy cause because from time to time we'll be labeled as this or that. But if it means that me being recorded in the history books as being one on the right side of history, definitely, I'll take it on any time of the day.
That's remarkable. And I think it's so important for us all to know that we need to be making a conscious choice to always stand on the right side of history, as you said, not just when it's fashionable, but make it fashionable to be on the side of justice and on the right side of history.
Yes.
Mashia, when you mentioned earlier about BDS, it's becoming quite a local voice every time we hear anything anti-Israeli, and that we see the BDS people coming out in full force. We see you in numbers, we hear your voices, we see the strength behind it. But what has been the response, being South Africans and being a BDS South African-based organization? What has been the response from people around you, from communities, even for Israeli Apartheid Week? How has the response been, whether it's from corporates, from universities, from schools? How do you feel?
The reception has been quite humbling, receptive. It's not an easy, like I said, it's not an easy thing to do, being an activist and raising awareness and conscientizing the masses out there, because we've got over 50 million South Africans, you know. But it's been positive, you know. Just now in December, the TUT, you know, TUT took on resolution to for an academic boycott. I think it's the first University of Technology in the world to boycott, academically boycott anything that's got to do with Israel. And
Yes.
I think that thing needs to be commended. And it's all because of the hard work and volunteers that, you know, they took up the stand and to call themselves, you know, what we're going to raise the flag of the Palestinians. Communities have been very receptive. For instance, let me speak a bit about the Israeli Apartheid campaign itself.
Please.
It started on the 12th until the 18th of March, but work started way in advance.
Absolutely.
You know, work started way in advance across the country. We had over 150 events that is recorded across the country in different communities, be it in churches, be it in societies, be it in universities, and so forth. And the events ranged from national comedy tour that we had in over 5 provinces across the country, you know, going to university campuses, speaking about Zaheerah Bham Week, and it was an overwhelming success, the national comedy tour, thanks to the comedian Mashabela Khalani, who does his comedy in Venek. He's from Limpopo.
Yes.
In the most rural of provinces, he's from Limpopo. It just shows you how we're trying to raise the voices of different communities in South Africa. We had the fashion show that we closed all the Zaheerah Bham in Sandton, Haiti, in a fashion show, well attended, you know, celebrity judges, you know, Kelly Kumalo was one of celebrities that came in support of the campaign itself. We had Ali Abonima, the editor of Electric Intifada, having honor speaking to in South Africa. You know, he was at Wits University, even went to Cape Town, even went to the Eastern Cape.
You guys have been very busy.
Very busy. We had Dr. Maitha. Dr. Maitha is a Syrian American. She also went on a speaking tour in South Africa. It was now just to raise to raise support. We had, you know, we even met the former president Kgalema Motlanthe with Ali Abonima the Monday after the campaign. We were like very busy, and the support from South Africans has been like quite humbling and
Fantastic.
Positive.
Fantastic. Mashia, I must ask you though, when we hear about these campaigns, we see it being targeted to university students. What about the rest of us? How do we get involved through the rest of the year and make sure that we are aware of what is happening? How do we stay up to date with it? Because I know you all put in so much of effort into this. But for my viewers, for all of us that are here and saying, you know what, we want to do our bit. We want to also make our voices heard and lend our support. How do we get involved?
Firstly, communities need to understand that Zaheerah Bham Week is an international campaign that is run in over 200 cities across the world, you know. And you can run the campaign through lectures, you know, documentary screenings from Palestine, you know, workshops and rallies and marches, you know. It's a campaign that's adopted by over 110 organizations in South Africa, be it political, be it NGOs, be it churches even. So it's how they've adopted the campaign. You can have anything that's showing, that's exposing or raising awareness of what's happening in Palestine. You know, even if it's a church, you know, doesn't have to be like most of us. It seems like it's a Muslim issue.
Yes.
It's not a Muslim issue. It's a human rights issue. And the reason why people seem to think that it's a Muslim issue is because most Palestinians, by religion, majority of them practice Islam. You know, are Muslim by religion.
Yes.
But besides that, they are human beings at the end of the day. You know, that's what we need to, because sometimes we fail to recognize that they are human beings after all.
Absolutely.
So yeah.
And I think I must just say, while you're saying that, one of the things that stood out for me also when we were in Jerusalem was that you walk from the church, you go straight down and you enter a mosque. And when you're in the mosque, you can hear the church bell ringings. And when you're in the church, you can actually hear the mosque, the adhan going. It's remarkable how all the faiths have worked together and how they coincide. And it's so sad that you see this oppression coming up over and over again that's breaking the spirits of people.
Yeah. It's very interesting that you said that, because it's seen as though it's a religious issue, and it's how it's been sold in the media, the narrative that's been sold, that, you know, just leave other people with their faith, let them. They've been fighting since the ages of the Bible, for that matter. It's what, before the Bible, is what people are telling us, of what I grew up looking at, because it's called a conflict.
Yes.
And it's not a conflict, but it's an occupation.
Absolutely.
Israel has occupied Palestinian land. That is a fact, and that needs to be corrected. You know, it needs to be told. But who better than us to tell it? You know, we need to reach across different communities in society, different communities in society, and conscientize. But this is what apartheid did. You know, I was packing the stall on Sunday, just a small what happened on Sunday at the PDS stall. So as we are packing the stall, right, comes this old man. He's white. Unfortunately, say he's white. And then he read with this tablecloth that said, boycott Israel apartheid. And he says to me, but you know, I get so angry when I see this, because this is just propaganda and. And I'm like, but okay, don't get angry. Let's discuss. So we understand, because you getting angry is not assisting. Yeah, but I don't have time to. You guys are selling this and it's all lies. But okay then. So if it's all lies, then why is the Israeli regime, because I call it a regime, doing what it's doing to the Palestinians? That's all lies. You must get to Israel. We'll pay a trip for you. We'll take you on a trip and go and see Israel for yourself. These are all lies. Then, but why is it that no one is allowed into Gaza? If that trip includes me going to Gaza, definitely I'll take the trip and I'll apologize if I am wrong. And the guy looked, no, but, and he just walked away. He didn't want to engage further, because you could see that this person is enlightened. This person, you know,
absolutely
knows what they're talking about. So I can't continue lying to them.
That's it. Yeah. No, but may you always be a voice for those that are oppressed. May you always continue to help conscientize communities and continue doing the hard work that you're doing. We're very proud of you. Thank you for joining us on
Thank
air.
you so very much. Thank you for having me.
It's been such fabulous guests in studio with us, guests that are actually not just touching our hearts and our souls, but also causing us to think it's time we conscientize ourselves. It's time we stand up with those who are oppressed. And if we are already, we need to take it a step further. Let's do more. Let's support these initiatives. These people don't need to be doing what they're doing. They can also sit back and say, it's not my problem. But they're choosing to be the loud voices for those that are silent. So let's join them. Let's support their causes. Let's do as much as we can to make sure they continue their voices are continuously heard and ringing, so that one day we can say Palestine is also free. Shukran so much for joining us on air. It's been an absolute pleasure to have you. We will upload everything onto our social media platforms as well, so that you can follow these stories. Take care. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.